Good evening, or good afternoon. My name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the president of United in Peace, Inc. And as you know, this show is directed and produced by none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., someone that I've been blessed to love for over 37 years, and that's my wife, Terry Marsh. And my special guest today is none other than the Secretary of State, Jesse White. And Jesse, thank you.
Hey, Gator, glad to be with you.
Appreciate you, man.
Your family.
You know, as you know, we 30-some days before the election, and we had early voting a couple of days ago, which started, and you can vote from now till November the 5th as far as early voting. And then, if you don't vote early, make sure you vote November the 6th. One of the main reasons, Secretary, is a bill that Juliana had got passed. And the governor runner, he vetoed a part of that bill with that a mandatory veto.
Sure.
And it dealt with individuals coming out of the institutions having the right to vote. And the part that he vetoed was he didn't want them to get the information that they have the right to vote. That's almost like subliminally suppressing the vote. You know what I mean? So you've been the Secretary of State, and you know the Illinois Department of Corrections. They know where individual is at when he's locked up. And I do know the gentleman that, Mark Maxson, he was locked up for 20-some years for he was wrongfully convicted. And I remember, I never forget, you probably remember too, when I brought him up to your office. And the first thing you said, what do you need? And he said he was trying to get his ID. And you helped him to get his ID, and then I took him over where he can get registered to vote, and he voted, and he felt so good because he said now he feels that he's a free man. So could you share with our viewing audience the program that you have with the Secretary of State's office that's helping with that?
Yeah, I have a program with the Secretary of State's office where individuals who are being released, or before they are released, or when they are about to be released, my staff will talk with them, counsel them, help them with the information that they need in order to get a state ID. So when they come out of prison, they come straight to the Secretary of State's office, and we can present them with a state ID. You cannot function in society without some form of identification, whether it's the driver's license, passport, or state ID. And we just want to make sure that we help these individuals to get that document that they need and deserve, and then make sure that we encourage them to also get registered to vote so they can go out and discharge their civic responsibilities. Because if you don't vote, you lose your great rights. You cannot talk about or complain about anything in society. So we encourage everyone, get on the phone, contact 10 of your friends, and have 10 of your friends to contact 10 of their friends to make sure that they understand the importance of discharging their civic responsibilities. When my family was completely alive and well, there were 9 of us, my mother and father, and 7 of the children. We all could not wait to vote, look forward to discharging our civic responsibilities. And now we have individuals who are cavalier about voting. I'm not going to vote. Well, you know, if there's a person out there who may not be functioning in government in the manner which you deserve. And so by you staying at home, it's like giving them a vote. Go out and vote against them. Or if you like someone who has discharged their duties in a manner which you could be proud, you go out and support them. If you don't do that, shame on you.
Right. And you know, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that I'm seeing that's happening out here in the community, and you too, because regardless of the statute of your office, everybody knows you as a people's person. You know what I mean? They see you out here, your phone, you answer your phone for anybody. It can be a president to an individual that's trying to get his identity or his ID to go vote. This election is so important, Secretary, as you know, because you go all over the state, and I've been blessed to ride with you around the state. And you let everybody know their responsibility to vote. And how it's important, especially with this 2018 election, not just in Illinois, but across the country. And I don't want to get anybody confused. We are Democrats, and we believe in the true blue, and they calling it the blue wave, going across the state of Illinois as well as across this country. Could you let them know why it's important for us to vote Democrat? Not just because we Democrats, but if you want change from what is happening now, your only alternative that you have now is to vote Democrat.
Well, you're absolutely correct. I'm a Democrat, and I'm a strong supporter of the Democratic Party. And of course, J.B. Pritzker is running for governor of the state of Illinois. We want to make sure that he is elected because the state, as you well know, is in need of repair.
Correct.
And we believe that J.B. Pritzker is the man who's going to bring this state back to where it should have been, where it needs to be, and will help to move this state forward. So, and then you also have a young lady by the name of Juliana Stratton.
Yes, sir.
Juliana is a state lawmaker, and not only is she a state lawmaker, she's a Sunday school teacher, she's a business person, she's a mother, she is the TP, the total package.
Right.
And it's important for us to elect this young lady because she'll go down in the history of being the first female African-American, well, better yet, the first African-American to serve as lieutenant governor for the state of Illinois. Right. And what's really good about that, and that is not only is she rich in talent, but I think that she is what the state of Illinois richly need and deserve in the form of leadership. She's a bright lady, sharp, she's a dancer, she is a Sunday school teacher, she's
right.
a leader in many, many ways. And I applaud, commend, and thank her for putting her hat into the ring to run for this wonderful office. And I know that once she is installed as our lieutenant governor, the state, and along with JB,
right.
That's salt and pepper.
That's salt and pepper. That's good seasoning.
Yeah, those two people are going to make history, and we're going to be proud of the fact that we came out and voted for them.
Yeah, right. And you know, with everything happening with this criminal justice reform piece, one thing, me personally, sir, the reason I was on board for JB coming out to shoot was because I saw his commitment to helping those that were wrongfully convicted. And it wasn't just talk of what ought to be done. He did something by giving an endowment to Northwestern University to help those that was wrongfully convicted. And every time I see those individuals coming out of the institutions because they were wrongfully convicted, I say that was because of J.B. Pritzker before he even entertained the thought to run for governor. And then we have Kwame Raoul that's running for the Attorney General's office. Okay, that would be a plus for this state compared to the young lady that he's running against. His credentials as far as being a former assistant state's attorney, I believe he was.
Yes.
You know, and with sister, I call her my sister because she's my sister in the struggle, a good campaigner too, Susan Mendoza. Okay, she's running.
Mendoza.
Right. And I don't want to mess the gentleman's name that's the treasurer, so could you let them know who the tall man with the state money, right? You know, you want to share with the viewing audience that brother's name?
His name is Frericks.
Frericks. Every time I see him, He reminds me of a great basketball player. He stands so tall. I just tell him, you being the treasurer of the state of Illinois, let us know that if we do the right thing and balance the budget correctly, the money and the state coffers will someday be as tall as you, you know. And with the platform that J.B. Pritzker and Juliana and the whole slate of the Democrats that's running statewide, whether they running for state rep, whether they running for state senator, whether they running to help defeat the Republican congressman that's in the state of Illinois, is very important. If we're going to be able to take control of Congress, we got to get rid of some of the Republicans that's in the office.
Something else. When we send J.B. Pritzker to Springfield as governor and Juliana Stratton as our lieutenant governor, they're going to need some support.
Correct.
There are 118 state representatives. Each state representative represents about 100,000 people.
Wow.
So when we go out to vote, we have to vote for those state representatives.
Right.
And then there are 59 state senators. Each state senator represents about 200,000 people. To make sure that they are put in place so they too can support the program put forth by the governor and the lieutenant governor. If you don't vote, then of course you may send, well, let's just hypothetically say we send J.B. Pritzker to Springfield,
right,
and he becomes our governor. He needs some support from the state representatives and the state senators. He says, well, I want to put forth this program. Well, you have to have, I think, 60 votes in the House and...
These what, 51?
50, I forgot the number
right.
in the Senate. I think it's 56 in the Senate.
Right.
The bottom line is, you have to have your team there.
Correct,
with you.
correct.
You're there, but where's your team?
Correct.
You have to have your team. There are individuals who will say, well, I'm going to go to Springfield, and I'm going to introduce this bill to do this and do that. And some people think, well, this fellow is going to pass this bill and make it the law of the land. No. You have to make sure you have the right number of people, and of course you want to make sure that the governor is on board with you as well.
Right. You know, I talk with a lot of my friends, as you know, Secretary, because you was one of the ones that signed my petition, and with the help of Jerry Butler and President Dunn, and it goes on and on, the who's who, Cecil Partee, everyone. When he was the state's attorney, I was able to get my pardon from Governor Jim Thompson. One of the most, he was, what can I say? I want to say hardcore. He was true to law and order.
That's right.
Good prosecutor, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Good governor. And to our viewing audience, I got a pardon not because I didn't commit the crime. I committed the crime, I did my time, but because of the work that I put back within the community. I'm saying that it's very important for every ex-felon in the state of Illinois to get registered to vote. Because you talking about you can't get no housing, it's hard to find jobs, you got all kind of hurdles that you got to jump over. But if you don't help to elect someone to understand fairness for everyone, and all it takes is one vote can make a difference. And why I say that, Secretary, that one vote, you was very instrumental. Never forget it, my guy Billy Dyson, your main mellow, to get out and help Juliana become state rep because of this one guy who you nurtured and aided and assisted to become the state rep for the 5th District. The guy Ken Duncan.
Yes.
And y'all came and you worked with the community, and everyone got together, the 3rd Ward, the 4th Ward, the 5th Ward, part of the 27th Ward, and came and said, if it wasn't for that one vote, that one guy, Ken Duncan, it would have been a balanced budget.
Yes.
And for almost 2 years, because of that one guy, that one vote, the budget wasn't balanced because Ronner felt he had what was needed.
What he did was, and we're talking about Ronner,
Right.
he bankrolled this fella,
Yeah.
gave him more money than he could ever possibly imagine.
Right.
And he turned his back on all of us.
Yes, he did.
Walter Burnett, our alderman, he's the one who brought him to the ward. I was
Right.
a ward committeeman. And we wrapped our arms around Ken. We helped him to move forward in his political career.
Right.
But then he was motivated by greed, and the greed caused him to turn his back on his party. And a lot of programs, children's programs, senior citizen programs, disabled individuals, the list goes on and on. Those programs suffered. And so we decided that we needed to change his status with us.
Right.
And so we endorsed and supported a lady by the name of Juliana Stratton. She we took her to many of our black churches
Yes.
and helped her on the campaign trail. And as it turned out, she became the state representative, replacing Ken by probably about 30% of the vote.
Right.
And then she was asked by J.B. Pritzker to run for lieutenant governor because he realized that this young lady was the best and the brightest, the sharpest knife in the drawer, so to speak, the brightest bulb in the building.
Right.
And he decided he wanted to have her as his running mate. And so now you have Juliana Stratton and J.B. Pritzker running for governor and lieutenant governor.
Right.
And once they are installed, we're going to have probably one of the best political leadership teams
Yes, sir.
that team that we've ever had. And I'm really proud of them, and I'm looking forward to November the 6th. But before we get to November the 6th, we have early voting.
That's
We
right.
want to make sure that every person, don't wait until the last day, because you may get sick or something may happen to you that will prevent you from going to the polling place. So while you're alive and well and feeling good, go to the polling place and discharge your civic responsibility.
Right. Like I say, vote, don't choke. I voted early. As a matter of fact, I went and voted the same time JB voted, and there was thousands of others across Illinois that voted early.
Well, one of the things that I'm really proud of, and that is the black churches are taking their parishioners from church
Yes.
directly to
To vote.
to the polling place so
Right.
they can vote early. And they have put some effort in making sure that victory is on our side.
Yes, sir.
On the side of J.B. Pritzker, which means that JB's on the side of the people.
Right.
And we're going to look pretty good if we continue along this path. And for those who have not discharged their civic responsibilities, we want to make sure that they do so.
Right. You know, as you know, they call me a walking billboard for JB. I had to dress down a little bit today, you know. But the fact of the matter is this: I believe in him because he's a good man. His picks, when he picked Juliana, showed me he was sincere. I listened to him talk that talk. I listened to him walk that walk, or I watch him walk that walk. And I'm glad to be a part of Team JB / Blue Wave 2018. Because for my son, who you have Card, I call him Carmiel, but he like to be known as Card, the one that got his master's after going to the Northern. And for them to understand the seriousness of politics as it affects them in the educational realm. Okay, it's powerful, and all of us, we owe it to ourselves to go vote. Don't choke, and like I say, to God be the glory. Everybody was shocked when I put that on my little posters, but I do believe that all things are possible through God. And if you want to reach or get in touch with the Secretary of State, here's his information. And one thing I do know, the Secretary has no problem answering his phone. And Secretary, while I'm on that, could you share with our viewing audience about the time you felt that robber might try to rob you for all your valuables? You know, the joke you be telling. Could you share that with us, man?
I don't have my phone with me, but let me tell you how it goes.
You got a flip phone, right?
I told Gator that I was coming out of the Joe food store, and a person walked up to me and put a gun on me and said, "This is a stick-up, and I want you to put your checkbook, your wallet, your cash, your ring, your watch on the hood of this trunk of this car, or the hood of this car, and if you don't do that, I'm going to shoot you. And you better not have anything of value in your pocket, because if I find it, I'm definitely going to shoot you." So I pulled out my flip phone. I said, "Well, what about this?" He says, "No, you can keep that."
Hey, man, they know that was the most valuable thing. But that phone, I wish I'd have kept my flip phone.
Well, let me share it with you, Gator. I charge the flip phone up once every 4 days.
Right.
How often do you charge your phone?
Man, every 2 hours, you got to walk around with a, oh, you see me? I always ask you, you got to plug in the car? Can I plug my phone up? You know, just to add, you know, ever since I've known the Secretary, he's been down to earth with me. And he had me go to Springfield this year to the state fair.
And to visit my office.
Yeah, oh man. His office. You know what? You need to do a digital thing that Dumont was talking about for them to see that office. And while we was there, it was some people from China that came and did a tour. You got to see the office in Springfield. I think if you ever want to take the youth from your schools on a civic tour, that would be a nice field trip for them to go to Springfield and go to the Secretary of State's office in the Capitol. Unbelievable. Hey man, then I saw that the Lieutenant Governor's office is right next to your office. Man, y'all gonna have a lot of fun in Springfield. Making things happen, man.
I'm really proud of the size of the office.
Right.
It's about the size of a gymnasium.
It is.
And we have pretty close to 750 artifacts in it.
Right.
And people say, well, if you go to Springfield, you have to visit Abraham Lincoln's tomb, the library, the museum, and the Secretary of State's office.
Secretary's office, right. You got to. You know, and Secretary, as you know, one of the things that I've been working with is this, the first defense legal aid, because I feel that individuals need to know their rights. And it's my understanding that the city of Chicago has pushed an ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, where the first defense legal aid can have attorneys at the different police stations, you know, for individuals that come there so that they can have their rights. You have a right to remain silent until you get an attorney. But you don't have a right, or you shouldn't have a right, to remain silent when a crime has been committed that I call senseless shootings and killings, the raping of women and children, the disrespect and the robbing of elders. We shouldn't be silent about them crimes that's happening within our community, because then we're aiding and assisting an individual that will come back and commit that same type of crime against you. But you do have a right to have an attorney before you give any information to the police if you are a suspect. So I'm telling everybody to know your rights, and there's going to be an event on October the 9th, 2018 at the Universal Center. Okay? The Universal Entertainment Center. The Universal Entertainment Center, there's going to be an event on October 9th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's the City of Chicago Community Justice Initiative Community Kickoff. Okay? And I'm going to be working in the 17th Ward, and there's people from the 34th Ward, the 8th Ward, the 21st Ward, or the 9th Ward that's going to be telling their constituents about the first defense, the free defense. You know, like Secretary Hall, he got another joke where he invited people to come to one of his events, and he put on there, what was that? I can't tell it, you tell it, man.
Sorry. I was a state lawmaker representing the Lincoln Park, the Paul River, North Streeterville, the Gold Coast area, the Magnificent Mile, Old Town, and Cabrini Green. I served there for 16 years. And so I was at a senior citizen home, and I indicated I was having a fundraising event at a club called Faces on Rush Street. And they said, oh, we have never been there. We'd like to go there. I said, well, sure. I said, how many would like to go? There were about 155, 160 of them. 60 of them said, we want a ticket. So I gave out 60 tickets. And then at the event, we didn't have any senior citizens. And so I saw them a few days later and I asked them, why didn't you attend my event, my fundraising event? And they said, well, Representative White, we didn't have $50 to give you. I said, I had stamped on the ticket complimentary, which meant that you didn't have to pay. He said, well, next time, stamp free. So there's a lot to be said when it comes to terminology.
Yes, it is. And I'm an urban translator. I ought to understood free too. But got to wrap the show up. And Secretary, I'm glad that you stopped to share with our viewing audience the importance of people coming out to vote in this election and how important this election is. Because I know you got a busy schedule.
Well, I'm just glad to be working with you because we're working with a wonderful team of J.B. Pritzker and Juliana Stratton and, of course, the rest of the Democratic constitutional officers. And, of course, we want to make sure that the state reps and state senators are also put in place by which they could go down to Springfield and discharge their civic responsibilities. And so I'm always glad to work with you, Gator. As they would say in my neighborhood, you the man.
Amen. And on that, I'm going to say to God be the glory.
Thank you.
Vote. Don't choke.